Hi, my name is Adam Riley, and I work for the silica business of PPG. I'm here today to do a short demonstration for you to explain how easy it is to make a DLC or dry liquid concentrate using precipitated silica from PPG. As you can see, it's currently lockdown conditions, so I'm at home and using the equipment and ingredients I have at home. So let's get started. For today's demonstration, I only need 3 pieces of equipment, and they are some scales, a mixing bowl, in this case stainless steel, but could be glass or plastic or whatever you have, and a standard hand whisk, balloon whisk. That's all we need to use for this. So the concept of DLC, dry liquid concentrate, is the ability to turn a liquid that could be sticky or high viscosity or difficult to handle into a dry, free-flowing powder without the use of spray dryers, but by using precipitated silica as a carrier, making it easier to handle, to process, to store, to transport, to use in a downstream process or product. So today I'm going to do 2 demonstrations for you using 2 different silica grades from PPG. The first product will be FLO-GARD SC72X, which is a large particle high absorbency carrier, 250 microns particle size. And the second product is FLO-GARD 255CD, much smaller particle size, around 40 to 45 microns, but still with good absorption capabilities. So let's start the process. What I'm going to do is get the scales going, zero them, and then I'm going to add 25 grams of silica into my mixing bowl. Whenever you're making these DLCs, it's always important to add liquid to silica, never the other way around. Because if you put the liquid in first, it will stick to everything in the mixer, the blades or the whisk and the bowl, and make life very difficult and not give you a good result. So that's almost 25 grams. So we have 25 grams of silica in the bowl, and I'm going to zero the scales again. And my liquid I'm going to use today is something I have at home. It's Ribena blackcurrant cordial, so undiluted Ribena. A little bit thicker than regular water, but not really high viscosity. And I'm going to add 50 grams of this. And I'm just going to pour it straight in on top of the silica. So this is an absolute worst case scenario test, because of course normally in an industrial process you'd be using a mixer like a ribbon blender or a Munson mixer, and you'd be metering the liquid in using a spray bar or a nozzle. But here it's all just poured in at once, and you can see it sitting in there in the bowl. And I'm just going to use the whisk now, and I'm going to mix this around, and you can very quickly see that the liquid disappears and starts to absorb into the pores of the silica. If you imagine all these little individual silica agglomerates as little sponges, and they will suck that liquid inside and hold it there. So remember, this isn't dehydration, it's still liquid in there. The liquid is just sitting inside the pores of the silica, so the product appears to be powder. So we can see now, if you look inside the bowl, it's mostly powder. You can see 1 or 2 small lumps there. They will break up as I mix this. It's only had about 30 or so seconds of mixing. And hopefully you can see on the camera there's still quite a few white specks in the bowl. That means there's still a lot of silica that hasn't actually absorbed liquid yet. So there's still some more capacity left in this. So what did we do? We added 50 grams of liquid to 25 grams of silica, which means in terms of a loading percentage, there's around 66% by weight of liquid in this bowl. and it is still liquid, I promise you. But that's now a nice dry, free-flowing powder. Hopefully you can see that. And those last couple of lumps will disappear. But what I want to show you now is how easy it is to work with silica. So what happens, for example, if you make a mistake? So say you're making this batch in an industrial mixer and you accidentally add too much liquid into the mixer. What happens and how do you deal with that? So I'm going to add even more liquid into this now. I'm not going to weigh it out this time. I'm just going to add in probably another 10 or 15 grams or so straight on top of this. So just simulating an overdose of liquid into the mixer. And you can see it sitting in there, and I'm going to do the same as before, try and mix this in. And you can see that now it's getting darker straight away, and it's getting heavier, and the mix kind of looks more like breadcrumbs now than a powder product, and it's a bit wet and a bit heavy, and you can see it doesn't really flow quite as well. So this now is going to be pretty difficult to deal with, okay? It's too wet, it's too heavy to be able to flow well, it's not going to pack well, it's not going to be very stable. You'll start to see liquid release from that if you put any pressure on it. So how can we fix this? Well, the good news is with silica you can always fix it. All you need to do is add a little bit more silica back in and you'll recover that straight away. So again, I'm not going to measure this now just for the sake of a demonstration. I'm just going to put 1 spoonful of silica back in there. Just dropped it on the top, and we're just going to mix that around again, just like we did before. And you can see almost straight away those big lumps disappear, and it starts to look a lot nicer in appearance. Becomes a lot finer, and now it's back to being a much more flowable powder. So very easy to recover if you do make a mistake. Okay, so we have our completed dry liquid concentrate, our DLC. FLO-GARD SC72X is typically good for liquid loadings of up to 70–72%. The actual loading will depend on the liquid that you're using, the molecular weight, the viscosity, and also the type of mixing equipment that you use. So they will all influence the final result, but 70–72% is typically possible. Okay, so that's done, and you can then drop that out of your mixer. You could pack that into drums, bags, stick packs, whatever you wanted to do with it. You could transfer that through to another part of your own process. You could sell this as an intermediate to another company in the food industry, for example, if they wanted to use it as a flavouring. But I said I'd also give you a demonstration of another product, so let's do that as well. And for the second demonstration, again, same equipment, mixing bowl and whisk. I'm going to also weigh 25 grams of silica into my bowl, and this time we're using FLO-GARD 255 CD. This product is a much finer particle size, so 40 to 45 microns here, and it's a little bit dustier, a little bit fluffier than the SC72X, but still very, very absorbent. So we have our 25 grams again, and we're going to do exactly the same as we did last time. Add 50 grams of Ribena mix and just drop it straight in on top of the silica. And there we go. All right, So, same process as last time. We're going to mix this in to the silica just as we did before. You'll notice here, perhaps you can catch it on the camera, that because this is a little bit lighter and fluffier, it does tend to give a little bit of dust, so you have to mix more carefully. Of course, in industrial settings, you're doing this in a closed mixer, so dust is not an issue. But particle size is often an important consideration for these DLC mixes. If it's going into the food industry, then we have to consider mouthfeel. So products like this of 40-45 microns are probably the largest that you could reasonably use for certain applications, especially things like powder beverage, for example. For others, where it's going into, for example, a soup or a sauce or a cake or a ready meal, a larger product like SC72X at 250 microns would be absolutely fine. So you can see here we've got the same kind of process as last time, where the Ribena has mixed nicely into the silica and you've got that dry, free-flowing powder once more. Again, a few small lumps, but it's only had around a minute of mixing, and if I was to do a little bit more mixing there, those lumps will gradually break themselves down and disappear. So again, we've got a nice dry, free-flowing powder. It's almost impossible to see here if there's any unloaded silica left. I would say probably there isn't very much, because here again you can probably get close to 70% loading. But with the particle size being much smaller, it tends to take a little bit longer to do. So whereas SC72X you can do in just a minute or two, here you might need, say, 5 minutes of mixing. It's also important when you're mixing to be gentle with the silica. If you hit it too hard, you start to break the silica agglomerates and you'll release the liquid that they've already absorbed, but you'll also generate a lot of fine particles. These will start to impede the flowability of your mix. They'll start to get coated with excess liquid and become sticky, and you'll end up with a sticky, dirty mixer and a very unflowable product. So it's important to be gentle. If you have a ribbon blender, you just want a nice, gentle turning action. You're not trying to beat it to death. Okay? So that's our demonstration. But in good TV presenter style, there's some here that I prepared earlier on that I'd just like to show you. This one here is Leon Perrin's Worcestershire sauce, and it's 69% liquid in this jar, and it's a nice dry, free-flowing powder. This is on a 250 micron product, FLO-GARD 215. These were all prepared in the same way using a mixing bowl and a hand whisk. Another one here is an example. This is 71% coconut extract with a little bit of blue colouring added just for effect. And this is also on FLO-GARD SC72X. And you can see again, nice, dry, free-flowing powder. I can tell you that this sample is also more than a year old, so it's nice and dry and very stable. The last one I wanted to share with you, this one is actually washing up liquid, dish detergent, and it's 71% loaded onto FLO-GARD 255 CD. So again, you can see that's a nice, dry, free-flowing powder. So not only food ingredients, dish detergents are absolutely fine to go on here. So if you're thinking about the possible applications for this, food ingredients, of course, animal feed ingredients, personal care, cosmetics, almost anything will work. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you found this demonstration useful, and please contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.